Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book haul video for the month of January. Technically, it's more of a Christmas season book haul because most of these books I either got for Christmas, right after Christmas, or as a result of Christmas, like getting gift cards and stuff. And I couldn't put them in my December TBR or my December book haul because I had to film that before Christmas because we went out of town. So this is going into the January. So the January book haul is like extra large, and because of that, I have I think 24 books. And it's quite a lot, and I'm very excited to show you all of them. And I cover quite a lot of genres, and I think I'm going to shock a few people with some of the books in here. So first off, I'm going to talk about 3 books from an author, Christopher Statscheff, who wrote the books A Wizard in Mind. He wrote A Wizard in Bedlam and A Wizard in Peace. They are books 1, 2, and 4 in his fantasy series. It is from Tor Books. I believe these are from the 80s or 90s. And I believe the first cover is Daryl K. Sweet, which is why I picked it. Yep, the first cover is Daryl K. Sweet. They're from the 90s. They're from 95. And I just think this is just a gorgeous cover. I do not have book 3 because I could not find book 3. And then the other books are done by another cover artist, it looks like, by different cover artists. The second one by Rattler DeWelks, and the fourth one is by Peter Peoples. So different cover artists, but I specifically picked them up because the first one I could tell was a Daryl K. Sweet, and I love his cover art. These are really short books. They're like 270 pages, about 280 pages, and 290 pages. So they're fairly short reads, but I think that they'd be fun. And when I read the premise on the back of the covers, they looked interesting. So I'll have to find book 3 before I read book 4, but at least I can start books 1 and 2. And the cover art really grabbed me. That's the style of fantasy cover art I really enjoy. I also got a middle grade horror novel called Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden. This is the 4th book in her Small Spaces tetralogy. I own the first 3 and have read and reviewed the first 3. Just search those titles, the book's Small Spaces, or the book Dead Voices, or Dark Waters. Just look up those titles and my name and you'll see them appear on your YouTube. And I enjoyed them. And so this is the 4th and final book. And it's not really carried in my local bookstores, but we went down to Florida and it was in that bookstore. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get it. And this is a creepy book, creepy cover, especially for a middle grade. It really reminds me of It because of the clown stuff. So I'll be interested to see if this holds up like the others and is really entertaining. I also got a Halo novel, The Fall of Reach, which I fully intend to read very soon. I've been trying to think of other media tie-in franchises that I could get into. And Halo is one that I've really wanted to for a while. I read New Blood by Matt Forbeck and really enjoyed it. And I read... and I bought 2 other books, one by Troy Denning, one by Kelly Gay, but apparently those 2 books are part of trilogies. They're the 3rd books in trilogies, so I wanted to get something that I could start. And everyone I asked said, start with this book. They said, this is like the origin story for Master Chief, which is also what the cover says. And they said, and this should like help me orient myself in the Halo universe, and then I'll be able to really go forward. So I'm really excited to get to this one very soon. Of all the books I bought, this was one of the ones I'll be reading very soon. I also got, speaking of media tie-in fiction, I got a 4-book bind-up of the Legend of Drizzt series. I always say Drizzt, but everyone else says Drizzt. By R.A. Salvatore. This is the books The Legacy, The Starless Night, Siege of Darkness, and Passage to Dawn. So this is one of those books that it's one copy, but it's a 4-book bind-up. I got it for a pretty good price at my local bookstore. It's a hefty boy. I don't really like bind-ups generally, but I just cannot find these anywhere locally, and I don't want to have to go online. So I was like, you know what, I'll just get the bind-up, and I'll read it. And I'm very excited to get to these sometime in 2024. I also purchased some classics. Some classics that I just want to get into because I want to vary my reading tastes. So I got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's a very short book in this mass market version. It's only about 250 pages. And so very interested to read that. Very classic. My brother-in-law read it recently and told me it was not what he was expecting with Frankenstein. So I'll read that eventually. I also got a copy of The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, which is one of my favorite musicals. I've seen the movie so many times when I was a kid. Like it's amazing how many times I watched it as a kid. And I recently rewatched it, and I was like, man, there are so many innuendos that went over my head. But I really like this story. I really like the music of the musical, and so I'm like, let me try out the book. I know that the book's different. I know that there's some story differences and some ending of the story differences, but I'm really interested in getting to this classic. And I should have peeled off the sticker from my local bookstore. Anyway, I also was gifted, I usually get gifted some nonfiction by family members, and I was gifted the book George Washington, A Life Lived Forgotten Country. So very interested in getting to this one. I also, all right, this is getting into the genre that I did not plan. I normally am not much into the YA. That is just not my normal tastes. And in 2021 and 2020 or 2022 and 2023, I read a little bit of YA, but not a ton. And I decided that for 2024, I'm going to make a concerted effort to read more YA. And so, because of that, I picked up the Divergent series. I got the first book in Divergent because a fan had been telling me to read it for so long, and I've actually already read it. That review should be out soon if it's not already out. Anyway, and so I got the sequels as well. So I got Insurgent, the collector's edition, in hardcover. I got Insurgent, which is the second book in the series, and I also got Allegiant, which is the third book in the series. So I have all of the novels in the series, and I will be reading the two sequels very soon. But that's not the only YA I bought. Man, you're either gonna love this or you'll hate this next pick. I've only told like two people before this video comes out that I actually bought these. So anyway. I ended up going out and purchasing the Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer because I want to get into YA, and Stephenie Meyer was from a group of authors from Utah that all had the same professor, and anyway, I just find some of this stuff fascinating, and I've seen the movies and I quite enjoyed them, so yeah, I'm probably going to get pilloried for this. So anyway, I bought the first Twilight book, new. I had to buy them all in various formats, which is frustrating me. Like my collector is like bothered that like for the Divergent series, I got a paperback for the first one, hardcover and a paperback, and my Twilight ones are even more all over the place. Because for the first one, I have the trade paperback version. For the second book, New Moon, I have the movie tie-in mass market edition. I did not want this at all. I did not want this one at all. But they didn't have the other versions at my local bookstore. And the only one, they had one, but it was completely torn up and tattered. And I was like, no, it's not worth it. And this was really cheap. And then I got a hardcover of Eclipse, the third book in the series. They keep getting longer. Why? And then the fourth book, Breaking Dawn. So I'll get to these eventually. One of my friends, I won't say who in case he backs out, suggested doing this series for Valentine's Day, reading at least the first book. And I thought, ooh, that's not a bad idea. So we'll see if I get there. I might not make it in time because I have other things to read, but I'll read it around then. Now for the last like 6 books on my that I got, these are ones that were sent to me in January. These are from the publisher Baen Books. They send them. I have some books coming not from Baen, but from someone else coming in February. But for right now, these are the ones that I got from Baen. I got their book Escape Orbit, The Unknown Awaits. And when I read this premise, I was really engaged, and I'm really getting into sci-fi of this variety. I'll I'll read it really quick. It says, 5 years ago, astronaut Jack Templeton took the spacecraft Magellan to the farthest reaches of our solar system, never to be heard from again until now, when the Magellan suddenly reappears where an undiscovered planet was suspected to be. It poses more questions than answers. How did Jack survive all this time? Can he make it back to Earth before his life support runs out? And what is the object long thought to be the elusive Planet 9? In a race against time, Jack's former crewmate, Tracy Keane, spearheads a desperate effort to outfit a rescue mission, but she has competition. Agencies of both American and foreign governments have their own agendas, and saving rogue astronauts isn't among them. And at the edge of all that is known, a gateway to the unknown awaits. And I am, like, that is right up my alley for a book pitch. But the problem is this is book 2 of a series. Book 1 already came out. Let me check to make sure I have the title. The first book is called Frozen Orbit. So I don't have that yet, so I need to get it. But like when I saw this title, I was like, I'm sold. I'm going to read this eventually once I find book 1. Speaking of sending me books that are part of series that I haven't read yet, you have they also sent me the book Poor Man's Sky by Will McCarthy. This is part of the Rich Man's Sky series, and again, this is a this is a continuation. The first book was Rich Man's Sky, then you have this one, Poor Man's Sky, and the third book is Beggar's Sky. And when I read the premise for this one, I was really engaged too. But I have to find the first book first. So these are that classic sci-fi. Then for a brand of sci-fi I'm really not like huge into, which is alternate history sci-fi, they sent me the trade paperback new book, Weird World War China, which is it's a superpowers collide on the world stage. And this is a short story collection by a variety of authors. There was a short story collection called Weird World War III, World War IV, and then this one is dedicated just to focusing on setting the short stories in China. And the opening of the book has this really thoughtful, like nonfiction focused on the Chinese threat and the way that America deals with the Chinese threat, and I was like, this is really engaging. And then you get into the short stories, and these are sci-fi, like you're finding monsters and they're traveling through time, and they're using crazy weapons. Like it's not like, so it's like it is a sci-fi. Don't misunderstand. This is a science fiction fantasy collection, short story collection. It's just that the intro that the editor has is a little bit more into the non-sci-fi thing. But the book is a science fiction fantasy book. And I read the first 2 short stories already. I'll be reading more of them eventually, and it's interesting. The main reason that has me excited is it has a short story by Brad Torkerson, who wrote one of my favorite books from last year. I also got the book Time Trials, which is by M.A. Rothman and D.J. Butler. It is a science fiction book about, I think it's historians regarding Egypt. It says, Marty Cohen is a gifted linguist and a student of ancient military strategy who stepped away from the plots and intrigues of academic Egyptology and became a small business owner. But then he gets an offer he can't refuse, an off-the-grid dig in Egypt, has discovered texts that may be the earliest Egypt has produced, and they'll pay Marty silly amounts of cash just to fly out and take one little look. A door opens, and soon Marty's ragtag team of archaeologists finds itself in what sure feels like a proto-historic North Africa, a drying land dominated by monsters where humanity is badly in need of champions. Behind the war against the monster overlords lies a great struggle. Marty and his team have been chosen to be champions of all Earth and run a gauntlet of on humanity's behalf. Failure will mean extinction. And this book, it seems to be a standalone that these 2 authors wrote, and the simplicity of the world building has me really interested. Of all the books that Baen sent me this month, I think this is the first I'm going to get to, so I'm really excited to do that. I was also sent their new hardcover short story collection that they also published this month, titled Down These Mean Streets, The Dark Side of the City. This is an anthology edited by Larry Correia and Casey Azell. If you didn't know, Casey Azell was on the channel when I went to DragonCon. You can find my interview with her there. We talk about what it's like to do to do short story collections and work with Larry and other authors. And then it has a bunch of short stories from other authors as well. But what I just find delightful about this cover is that the shield has Bane's logo on it, which I just find hilarious. Like, it's stuff like that I just chuckle at. And then the final book that I got from the publisher is D.J. Butler's Among the Grey Lords, which is part of his Tales of Indrajit and Fix series. So I'm very interested in that as well. Although again, it's like book I think 3 or 4 in a series, so I'd have to get to the others first. So that is the books I got. A bunch that I bought, a bunch that were gifted by family members. I got some YA in there. I know I'm gonna get in trouble for that. I got YA romance. I've got YA dystopian. I've got fantasy, science fiction, media tie-in fiction. Whoo boy, do I have a lot. So that is what I purchased. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of each of them. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.